Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel.
Today, I want to dive into a topic that's super relevant in our digital age: the psychology behind online hate speech. Now, I know this might sound like a heavy subject, but stick with me. I promise we're going to break it down in a way that's easy to understand and, hopefully, a little eye-opening. So, grab your favorite drink, get comfy, and let's chat like we're just hanging out with friends. In today's digital age, the internet has become a space for free expression, and unfortunately, for the proliferation of hate speech. But what drives individuals to spew such negativity online? In this video, we'll explore the psychological forces behind online hate speech, delving into factors like dehumanization, social validation, anger, and fear. We'll also examine the ripple effects of these behaviors and discuss strategies for combating hate in the digital world. The dehumanization factor. Online anonymity. The digital mask. Have you ever noticed how some people, when they're online, just seem to forget there's a real person on the other side of the screen? It's like they put on a digital mask. When you're behind a username or an avatar, it's so easy to detach yourself from the impact of your words. Imagine you're at a party, but everyone is wearing masks. You wouldn't really know who you're talking to, right? That anonymity can make it seem like our words are just pixels on a screen, rather than something that can deeply affect another human being. Real talk. When we're anonymous, our natural empathy can take a backseat. We might say things in the heat of the moment that we'd never dare say face to face. This detachment makes it easier to cross lines and, unfortunately, to spread hate without really feeling the consequences. Groupthink and echo chambers. Now, let's talk about another tricky part: groupthink. Have you ever scrolled through social media and noticed that certain spaces or groups just echo the same opinions over and over again? It's like being in a room where everyone agrees on everything, no matter how extreme. In these digital echo chambers, hateful ideas can become normalized. When everyone around you is saying the same hurtful things, it almost feels like joining in is the right thing to do. Imagine this: you join an online group that's all about a specific political view. At first, you might just be there to learn. But over time, if every post is laced with dehumanizing language or stereotypes, it's hard not to start thinking that maybe this is how everyone truly feels. That's when you see people forgetting that behind every comment is a real person with feelings. And trust me, it's the targets of that hate who end up really hurting. Impact on the target. Speaking of targets, think about what happens when someone is constantly bombarded with dehumanizing language. It's not just words, it can seriously chip away at someone's self-esteem and mental health. When people are reduced to a stereotype or an object, it creates feelings of isolation and worthlessness. Imagine hearing the same negative comments over and over again. It's enough to make anyone question their value. And that, my friends, is one of the most damaging aspects of online hate speech. The power of social validation. Likes, shares, and the social proof illusion. And let's switch gears a bit and talk about something we all know well: social media likes, shares, and comments. Ever seen a post blow up with thousands of likes and thought, wow, this must be really important or true? That's the power of social proof. When a post, even one full of hate, gets validated by a huge number of likes and shares, it sends a message that the sentiment is acceptable. And here's where things get really tricky. The more engagement a hateful post gets, the more it gets pushed into the spotlight, creating a feedback loop that makes it even more widespread. Think about it. Every time you hit like on a post, you're helping the algorithm decide what to show more of. It's like casting a vote that says, "This is cool." Unfortunately, sometimes that vote ends up boosting hate speech. And before you know it, what started as a few mean comments turns into a viral trend that's hard to stop. The algorithm and its role in hate bubbles. Have you ever wondered why you sometimes feel stuck in a loop of extreme content? That's thanks to the algorithms on social media. These systems are designed to show you more of what you already interact with. So, if you engage with one piece of inflammatory content, even just by reading it, the algorithm might start suggesting more of the same. This creates what some call hate bubbles, where you're repeatedly exposed to similar negative views. It's like being on a treadmill that only goes in one direction, reinforcing the same mindset over and over again. Personal example. I remember a time when I stumbled upon a heated debate on a topic I didn't know much about. At first, I was curious, but then I noticed that every recommendation was filled with increasingly extreme opinions. It was like the algorithm was nudging me further and further into a corner of negativity, making it super hard to see any balanced perspective. The psychology of anger and fear. When emotions take over. For now, let's get into the emotional side of things, specifically, anger and fear. These emotions are incredibly powerful, and when they get fired up online, they can lead to some seriously impulsive behavior. Think about a time when you were really upset about something, a personal issue or maybe a major news event. That surge of anger or fear can make you want to lash out immediately. Online, where the barrier between us is so thin, that impulsive reaction can turn into harsh, aggressive comments that spiral out of control. Quick story. I once saw a comment thread where one person posted something mildly controversial. Within minutes, the thread exploded with angry responses, each comment more heated than the last. It was as if the initial spark lit a wildfire of anger that just couldn't be contained. And the worst part, the people involved probably weren't even thinking about the real consequences of their words. Stress, frustration, and the need to vent. We all have moments when life gets overwhelming. Whether it's personal stress, work pressure, or just a bad day, it's tempting to unload those frustrations online. But here's the thing. The internet isn't really the best place to vent your stress. When you're feeling frustrated, it's all too easy to direct that negativity toward others, often people who had nothing to do with your bad day. This is where you see the dangerous mix of personal stress and online hate. A little venting can quickly escalate into targeted hate speech, and the person on the receiving end might be dealing with a whole different set of issues. The role of inflammatory language. Another interesting point is how certain words can act as triggers. Inflammatory language is like gasoline on a fire. A single post with the right, or wrong, words can spark a chain reaction of anger. Once those words are out there, they can quickly escalate into something much bigger. It's not just about the immediate impact, it's about how that language can set off a series of events, drawing more people into a cycle of negative emotions. The ripple effect of online hate. Long-term impact on individuals. Let's talk about the fallout. What happens to someone who is constantly exposed to online hate? Over time, those repeated negative messages can seriously damage a person's mental health. Imagine waking up every day and having to deal with a barrage of hateful comments. It's exhausting and demoralizing. For many, this constant exposure can lead to anxiety, depression, and a deep sense of isolation. The psychological scars can be long-lasting, affecting not just their online life but their real-world well-being, too. Real-life connection. Think about a friend or family member who has mentioned feeling overwhelmed by negative social media interactions. It's not just a bad day, it's a cumulative effect that can change how they view themselves and the world around them. Impact on communities and society. But it's not just about individual pain. The ripple effect extends to entire communities. When hate speech becomes normalized, it creates an environment where division and mistrust thrive. Picture a neighborhood where everyone's constantly on edge because they're hearing hateful rhetoric from all sides. That sense of division can break down the social fabric, leading to more conflict, less cooperation, and a community that feels unsafe for its members. From digital to real-world consequences. Perhaps the most alarming part is when online hate spills over into the real world. We've seen it time and again. Hate speech online can incite violence and discrimination in our communities. When people start believing that it's okay to dehumanize others, it lowers the barrier for real-world aggression. It's a slippery slope where digital hate transforms into physical harm, making our world a more dangerous place for everyone. Moving forward, combating online hate, critical thinking and media literacy. So, what can we do about it? First off, it's essential to develop critical thinking skills and media literacy. This means not taking everything at face value and questioning the content you see online. Ask yourself, who is behind this message? What might they be trying to achieve? By being more mindful, we can better spot and challenge hateful rhetoric before it gains traction. A little tip. Next time you scroll through your feed and see something that seems off, take a moment to pause. Sometimes, stepping back and asking a few questions can make a huge difference in how we interpret and respond to what we see. The role of social platforms. Social media platforms themselves have a big part to play here. Many are working on improving their algorithms to reduce the spread of hate speech and create a safer environment for users. This includes better moderation practices, clearer community guidelines, and tools that empower us to report abusive content. While there's still a long way to go, it's encouraging to see progress. But remember, technology is only part of the solution. Our role: responding with empathy and constructive dialogue. We, as users, also have a responsibility. When you encounter hate speech, sometimes the best reaction isn't to engage with more hate. Instead, consider responding with empathy or simply choosing not to engage. It might feel like you're letting someone get away with bad behavior, but sometimes, refusing to feed the fire is the most powerful statement you can make. Imagine this. Instead of replying with anger, you might say, "I'm sorry you're feeling this way. What's really bothering you?" Sometimes, a moment of genuine curiosity can diffuse a heated situation and encourage a more meaningful conversation. Building positive communities. Finally, let's talk about building communities that celebrate diversity and respect. When we actively promote positive interactions and support one another, we help create a counterbalance to the negativity. This might mean sharing stories that inspire, supporting creators who spread positivity, or simply being kind in our own digital spaces. Remember, every like, share, and kind comment can help make the internet a little brighter. Personal reflection. I try to think of every interaction online as a chance to add something positive. Sure, it might seem small, but imagine if everyone took that approach. Our digital world could transform into a space where understanding and empathy become the norm rather than the exception. So, there you have it, a deep dive into the psychology behind online hate speech. We explored how anonymity and groupthink can lead to dehumanization, how social validation and algorithms can amplify hate, and how raw emotions like anger and fear play into it all. We also talked about the very real consequences for individuals and communities, and most importantly, what we can do to combat this negativity. Final thoughts. It's a complex issue, but understanding the psychological factors at play is the first step in making a change. By questioning what we see, engaging with empathy, and supporting positive online spaces, we all have a role in turning the tide against online hate. Thanks so much for sticking with me through this conversation. If you found this discussion helpful or thought-provoking, please give this video a thumbs up, share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. Let's keep the dialogue open. Together, we can work towards a kinder, more understanding digital world. Until next time, take care, stay thoughtful, and remember that every positive interaction counts. See you in the next video.